there is much of doomsday narrative happening right now in all areas of life. And when it comes to perfume market, in terms of how perfumes are presented, where are they sold, what is the actual real world experience of looking, discovering, trying perfumes, I decided to do a little local experiment. I'm in Tampa Bay area right now in Florida, and I decided to go to 3 run-of-the-mill kind of major department stores. I went to JCPenney, I went to Kohl's, I went to, I think it was Dillard's, Macy's, and Neiman Marcus. Okay, it's actually 5. And given the location of these department stores, that is in one of the top resort/vacation spots locally in the country within the United States, I expected a certain skew to what kind of products and what kind of brands and how the marketing is organized there. I was positively and negatively surprised about how the whole thing was functioning, and here is what I found out. First and foremost, the sheer absurdity of how much space those department stores take and how little of products or functional value you can find there is staggering. This is what some people call American giganticism at its worst. It probably made sense during boom era of early 2000s, but right now it is true that a lot of malls are ghost towns. And I don't think COVID has as much to do with it as people, or at least businesses, claim it is. So it became very normalized. Then business owners, especially the big corporate business owners, in this nonchalant manner, pass the blame. So, our sales are dwindling, people don't want to go to the malls. Pass it on the consumer, as they call us, people. And it never ceases to amaze me how divorced these people are, not only from their own humanity, they are consumers too. They go to places too. They want to have joyful, interesting experiences on the little free time that they get in their busy corporate careers too. Just the same as any nurse or any service worker or any person who has a full-time job or full-time family duties to fulfill. And also, not only this divorce from reality that is staggering, that is like unwavering, willful blindness to human experience, but that aside, right, like it's into this mainstream doomsday propaganda or obsession or psychosis that's happening in the digital conversational space. Fine, it has its factor, we heard it, but also their laziness to check their own products, the locations and what actually happens there. Across all of them, with one exception, and that was Neiman Marcus, all of those malls contained trash. The brand selection is atrocious. I understand that people in local towns or not so big cities, people who have normal jobs, are not going to dress in Vivienne Westwood or Alaya or in My Speech is so 2010. Okay, who should we say? Okay, let's name one of those like centuries old vampire brands, Dior, Chanel, Louis Vuitton. Okay, we get that. But it's not even anything that we know of. It's not any Instagram brand that's hot on TikTok. I think Target tried brand collaborations in the past. Allegedly, they were not very profitable. But I remember those days, 2017 or so? At this point, 10 years ago, that we had lines. People and fashionistas were lining up at 4 a.m. at Target, believe it or not, to snatch. guilty. I wasn't there at 4 a.m., but guilty as everyone else. I did make 5 Target stops or so to land what was pretty much destroyed within one day, the Marc Jacobs and Target collaboration. I did get that makeup pouch by Marc Jacobs, and it's beautifully crafted. It's stylish. I still own it. I did search and search around until I found that was a Tracy Reese, another brand collaboration of dining ware. There was a set of plates, if I remember, and and they were incredibly fun, funky, beautiful. I broke a few, but I still own some of those plates. So those are the days where even a grocery store could produce hype, could produce a vibe. People would go to Target because Target had a vibe. And Sephora worked very hard to become the monolith that it has, only to lose its hip and up-and-coming flavor for too fast of a rotation of brands. These days, is it just me? You go to a Sephora, which unfortunately, after my extensive comparison of the malls and the department stores, the places you would go to if you were looking for perfume included, only Neiman Marcus and Sephora, at least in this area, and those are all of them were big department stores, big ones. Only these two still carry something that I would call a perfume selection. Everything else, as I started, brand selection atrocious. This stuff, since I also design athletic wear, and I know what kind of templates you can get your hands on very easily, right? Like people will default to if they, let's say they want to make their own baseball hat or t-shirt, a graphic t-shirt. I know what cheapest templates are out there. You slap your own design, or even they do it for you, and here you go, white label product creation, or merch creation as we call it, right? That's the quality of the fabrics and the sewing and the brands that are there. And that raises a question. This is garbage before it made it on the floor. Why would anybody buy this for $40+? What's the point? And if you look at the stock market, you start seeing even a sharper proof of this very poignant question. If you look at the Macy's stock versus TJ Maxx stock, you will see a polar opposite situation going on. But back to perfumes. Brand selection horrendous, just overall. They're indeed empty. Even Sephora's are ghosty these days, and Ultas. A lot of them are. And I remember the days where people were like, it was busy. It was really busy, especially for the holiday sales. And now this cheapening of the products, constant rotation of brands that just eliminates any brand value altogether. That's what, Target partially did it better than many others, but that's what Sephora did, completely kind of wiped out any brand value of any brands that Sephora carries because there's too much rotation. A lot of them are so-called TikTok brands. You don't know where they came from. You don't know where they're going to be alive in a year. But it's even worse. Imagine just rugs, just pieces of what this is. I don't know. It's like cheapest of the cheapest stuff that has a unknown brand on it. I've never seen a single advertisement, not a single one for any of the brands that I saw in those department stores. Not a single one. Those are so obsolete that when you see Ann Taylor, it's like, oh my God, at least I sort of kind of recognize this. And I'm still amazed that this brand exists to this day. Fine. But now we go to a beauty section and it is dismal. It is dismal. Even the brands that are there, it's a gas station version of bestsellers. So they'll have your usuals. Burberry, what's the Baccarat Rouge Strawberry Cologne? Burberry Her. but not even with a tester. You will see a plastic wrapped baskets, gift sets that have no testers around them, and you'll see random bestsellers just stocked on these bookshelves, pretty much, that wrapped in plastic. It feels so conceptless. It feels so not cohesive. It's just like you just threw things from the bestseller list, you wrapped them in plastic, you scattered them in the corner, too large for the section at this point. Like half of those stores can be, you can reduce the space by half, and you will still have too much space, and you can get rid of 70% that they carry, and it will make no difference. No difference whatsoever, including perfumes. It's a gas station perfume buying experience. Things that, forget new niche brands, forget any kind of playfulness with people who wander by chance or by some evil spirit influence into those holes, empty holes. There is nothing for you to even engage with. Testers are often hidden or empty, and in the place is deserted. So there are more sales assistants than there are visitors, and yet you see dirty testers. Perfumes get dirty, they get spoiled, you have to clean because it's oily, it's reactive. So there is certain upkeep you need to do with makeup counters, with perfume counters as well. Testers are empty or they're absent. There are sometimes no blotters to spray them on, or they become very weird about giving you more than one blotter. To me, this is like straight crazy. This weird stinginess with blotters makes me crazy. So you're trying to save on these little pieces of paper while you're occupying day after day. Those places, I presume, are rented commercial real estate. You're occupying a space of the size of a football field. You're paying for that. You're paying for 15 sales associates on the floor who have nothing to do. And yet they don't get the time, or I guess directive or budget, to clean, open, or keep testers out there. They don't have time or directive to have blotters everywhere, or to give more than one to one potential customer, if you so much like that term. Yeah, we're not people anymore, we're customers, we're walking wallets. You can't even create a pleasurable or plentiful experience for the people who do wander in. It is insane to me that any of them are still in business. It is that bad. It is that bad. It is an absolute nightmare. And that's not a consumer fault. Nobody in their sane mind would go twice to a place like that. So my message to any people who are still working in that industry: go to the store and observe, record, make notes. And you'll find out that you're trying to sell non-sellable product at this point. And they keep playing this giganticism game of opening this grand, big, tall ceilings. It's staggering to imagine how high their power bills are at this point. You don't need that much space. That's not what creates a pleasurable shopping experience. Obviously being in really tiny basement type of boutique is a different vibe, and a lot of boutiques make it work in big cities, basement boutiques. But if you want high ceilings, fine. They don't have to be 5 stories high. You don't have to take a football field of a size of a store in order to make it pleasurable. They're actually not inviting because they're that big. They're not inviting. There's nothing to do there. There's nothing to even look at there. Those plastic wrap Burberry, I want to say Brits, Burberry for her, or yet another boring flanker of Narciso Rodriguez. This is not something that I want to look at, and therefore I don't want to touch it either. This plastic wrap, very early 2000s basket looking thing with 5 products I don't want to use. I don't need a soap, 3 kinds of soap, 1 milliliter of hand cream, and like 30 ml of a fragrance that's 20 years old for $120 or $150. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. It's so divorced from modernity and from pragmatic business reasoning. These are such hollow, unfriendly, demotivating spaces. No wonder they are losing money. Back to perfumes though. So brand selection, bizarre, or like top 50 from any gas station type of brands. I even found Histoire d'Amour by Ubisan. Not Ubigan, that's a different brand. Abusan, okay. Budget brand that was made, I think, in the 90s. And I think it online costs $10. At this point, hun, what are you doing? What are you doing? Is it a department store or is it a gas station? Even gas stations don't carry that anymore. You'll find perfumes in Macy's that are from car companies. One of those, Bentley would not be too bad, but it's like one of those Adidas, Ferraris, like things that it would be a stretch to call them perfumes. Technically speaking, yes, but we'll be hard pressed to have any meaningful discussion of that juice. And you look at that, it's comically bad. It's comically bad. But what surprised me, on top of these gas station top 50 bestseller wrapped in clear plastic gift baskets, you will find some very new niche brands, which makes me think of some form of money laundering or nepotism that's happening in the niche brand industry. Because the brands that I saw, it was startling to me. Why these? You have to ask, like, why these? Why do you have these ones? So I make my way through. I'm quietly horrified. Obviously, I don't want to try anything. There are things that I already known for 20 years or I don't have no interest in trying whatsoever. And then I see a full collection of Thomas Kasmala and Mind Games. 2 brands that are infamous for being very expensively priced, very cheaply made clones of God knows what. If I saw, well, Serge Lutens, forget that. I mean, that would be so fitting. Like, wouldn't you agree? That is an affordable niche with history, with interesting compositions that actually could make it really interesting for any given person who is not really into perfumes, but could be surprised, could be a little tickled with that experience. You could place Etat Libre d'Orange there. Also fun, but not too expensive, mind-twisting, sometimes rebellious experiences. It would make going to a mall, going to the beauty section of the mall, an experience. No, not a sign of affordable niche in sight. Not Frank Boclet, no Perrier Monte Carlo. Like, what other affordable niches do we know? Like, there's so many. If you want me to, I can make a whole video about kind of my favorite pieces of affordable niche brands, what I call affordable niche, worth looking at, that you are unlikely to find anywhere, which is, it's bewildering. It's bewildering. Why doesn't Kohl's or Macy's carry Serge Lutens? Why? It fits with the budget. It creates a fun, returnable experience, and it does introduce a consumer, as they call us, as they call people, humans. It does introduce walking wallets, speaking their language, into products that bring more value than just smelling better than BO. That's what you want. At this point, you want every real physical experience to be interactive and to be fun, almost gamifiable, so you will come again to experience that. They could do all kinds of things, because if you're that suffering from losses, reduce your physical space. You don't need those airport-size buildings. You don't need that. Reduce the physical space. Get rid of all of those Chinese no-name brands nobody knows about, nobody cares, nobody buys. At that point, clothes that cheap you can get for $5 in Goodwill. Goodwill has better selection these days than department stores. How is that a thing? Anyway, you can, let's say you're still short on money, you're still short on a budget. Okay, you say like, we're happy to give you five experiences. We'll spray it for you, we'll spray it on you, 5 fragrances, anything you like, any 5 you want to try, and we'll give you a card to come back for 5 more. Just create some reason for them to return. And if you come to us 5 times and you collect these 3 Pokemon cards, beauty Pokemon cards, Macy Pokemon cards, we will give you a free sample on the 6th time when you're back. Make people want to come back, even if they're not buying yet. Create a culture of soft norm, if you wish, of spending your free time going to the mall like it used to be. Just we now need to reinvent some more social, more fun, gamifiable reasons. But these are such bad spaces to go to that don't you dare blame it on the consumer. Try to go there yourself and see if you're not gonna feel sick after being there for 10 minutes. So I go in, I see these 2 niche brands, and it's, why not Latifa? At this point, why not just any Middle Eastern backed clone type of a number 5, number 6, gotchi, that kind of stuff, because that's what it is. But the prices. So Thomas Casmala, where every 3rd perfume is a clone of Baccarat Rouge, cheapened, and volume of those compositions is turned to such a max that I feel you can get like nerve damage if you smell it too close for too long. I don't remember how much that was, maybe within 200 or something, which is pretty crazy. You're walking among trash, right? Trash clothing that is still 4 times more expensive than it is even in TJ Maxx, where you get better selection for cheaper. But then you stop by something that's niche and costs over $200. Mind Games were nearly $350 or something like that. $350 in Kohl's or in Macy's. I'm trying to remember who exactly carried. So 2 niche brands. This, Thomas Casmala, and Mind Games. And everything else is gas station top 50. First of all, why this? Why this? At that point, bring Louis Vuitton. Bring Yves Saint Laurent. These are not only hard luxury names that carry a lot of brand value to this day, but their perfumes are actually very good. Yves Saint Laurent brand has really good perfumes. If you want me to do a brand review, I'm happy to do so. Are they overpriced? Absolutely. Absolutely they are overpriced for what's inside and how rare it is. But they're well made. And they do try to create trends. Yves Saint Laurent blouse is an absolute, it's a thing. It's a trend of its own. It created a niche for itself. Why not that? Especially in corporate environments. How did the brand strategy and procurement worked that you brought a TikTok niche Mind Games that carry very low creative value, extremely high price tag, and nearly zero brand value to consumers, to walking wallets. If I was as a normal person with a normal job and I wanted to splurge on an expensive perfume, I don't know, maybe I came with my husband and it's our 15-year anniversary and we got 3 kids, and it says, "Hun, for 15th year anniversary, I worked hard. Buy yourself the most expensive luxury item of beauty you want." And she says, "I don't wear that many jewelry." Maybe she works in a place where you can't wear a lot of jewelry, or you're afraid it's gonna get stolen. But lipstick or some kind of stuff that you use up very quickly, you're not gonna pay that much money for it. If you're just like a normal part of normal working family, but perfume, that's gonna last me a few good years, and it's something that affects you emotionally. It's something that people feel, and it has a lot of that non-spoken luxurious value. I'm gonna buy an expensive perfume, and the choices that you get is Thomas Kasmala and Mind Games. If that woman was standing and there was Louis Vuitton or Yves Saint Laurent, I'm just not gonna go much further, Boutique Dior, Boutique Chanel, but those usually have their own boutiques. If you have them, you have them. But let's say some of the department store level of luxury. Wouldn't you rather brand value, original, good level compositions? To me, this is, at this point, I have serious questions about the level of corruption and nepotism that happens at the leadership level of people who kind of manage that part of the business, the malls, because it's atrocious brand selection, and the sprinkling of luxury that they do there just raises my eyebrows. So those 15 sales assistants jump upon me when I'm walking alone. The place is deserted. I quickly realize the testers are either absent or uncapped or empty. I asked for some space. I was like, "If you don't mind giving me just a few blotters, I just want to try a few things. I just want to be on my own for a little bit. I'll ask you if I have any questions." The level of hostility and disappointment simultaneously that appeared on the faces of those 15 sales assistants is hard to describe with words alone. Eventually, they concede. They say that they don't have the paper, but me knowing where I was going, I was ready for it. I was like, "Oh, don't worry. I brought my own blotters. I brought my own pieces of paper that I can afford to use to try a $300 product that you think I should buy blindly." So I go, and eventually they weave it in. While you're looking in the questions, most of them barely speak English. And I'm fine with it if I was in a foreign country, right? Like, you wouldn't have an expectation that somebody will speak fluent English, but they struggled. They struggled to communicate, and I'm fine with accents. I have quite a few myself. But ability to communicate and strength of your accent are two different things. So I'm talking about ability to communicate here. I'm perfectly fine with any background, any combination of accents, as long as I can sort of understand what you're saying. They could not communicate about beauty. They could not communicate about perfumery. They didn't know anything about notes. They didn't know anything about molecules. They didn't know anything about perfumers. It was like, this is very expensive. So this poor middle-aged woman who barely can put 2 words together is trying to explain that this is very expensive. This is very hard luxury item. You think so? What makes you think so? Well, it's here. Yeah. What does it remind you of? I was like, well, it's very masculine. Oh, this is very feminine. It's floral. That's all. That's the level of depth that I got out of them, even though I was not seeking that conversation, but they have nothing to do. And when they see that one poor wandering prey, that gazelle that accidentally walked in. They could not leave me alone. So I was like, all right, I better take charge of this situation so they don't eat me alive. All right, okay, are we all here together? Let me tell you about perfumery. We had a blast. We had fun. After all, they have nothing to do. I was there trying just to defend my territory so they would not snatch my purse, open it, and just swipe the card themselves. It was a bit aggressive, but eventually we found some groove. We talked about perfumery. I do confess I did shit to no end on these no-name TikTok brands that cost $400, be it Bodychea, or I will even give Creed a pass. I will give Perfumes de Marly a pass because actually Perfumes de Marly, like, a lot of people are about it because doesn't seem as original as they claim to be. But there are two, for example, why not Perfumes de Marly? Why not Ex Nihilo? Why not Killian? The Instagram darlings. Perfumes de Marly, one thing why I'm nearly always willing to cut them a pass is because they created Delina. You can trash any rich bitch Instagram luxury brand all you want. I'm as snobbish as they come. But if you can't create a trend that people from high and low, from poor to rich, from young to old, it's a cultural, sensual moment, sensory cultural phenomenon that Delina has created. And for that, I am willing to cut them a lot of slack. Same with Francis Kurkdjian and his Baccarat. I hate Baccarat. I can't stand Baccarat. But I cannot deny, and I cannot avoid the appreciation that I have that in some way, shape, or form, it created a cultural coming together moment for people across the world. That the genre was born with Delina or Baccarat. So I'm all into cutting a lot of slack to Instagram luxury. I'm good with it. And also, Perfumes de Marly, they worked their ass off with influencers in pop-up shops and marketing. A lot of niche brands I notice want a lot of money, want a thick margin, but don't want to dance for their dinner. No work with influencers or like, we only send to the top. Like, who cares if yet another Kardashian affiliated influencer shows yet another perfume? This is not how creating a trend works anymore. It's a little bit more diversified, let's call it that. Because when yet another beauty influencer shows yet another bottle, and we all know that they got paid to show it, they don't love it, they don't wear it, they don't care. And to their credit, Perfumes de Marly and some other niche perfume brands, they actually did invest into the relationship with their customers, into the relationship with perfume bloggers, within their budget, obviously. But when a perfume brand that struggles to open a boutique does not even reply to a perfume reviewer on Instagram while they're begging for likes and complaining that they have to buy them, you are spending on your Instagram ads and on buying likes and buying views and setting things to Kardashian affiliated influencers where your product is just drowned in the never-ending revolving door of everything else. You're spending thousands of dollars, honey, for very little return just because you're trying to buy in to some imaginary high society instead of connecting to true enthusiasts. It's some brands, as I said, are better than others. So if you really want to bring that level of vivacity back into department stores, who is doing procurement? Now that I remember Perfumes de Marly, like, why doesn't every Macy's have Perfumes de Marly? Why doesn't Target have pop-up, I don't know, sell travel sizes, if If you don't think people will buy a full-size bottle, find a way. If you can't sell a travel size because the margin is too low, okay, sell a bundle. Don't lower the price, add more value. The classical product forming tactic. Can't lower the price, add value. Nowhere near. And again, my shock of the only 2 niche brands that somehow were propped in that valley of trash and gas station top 50, Mind Games and Thomas Kasmala? Who made that decision? Who cares? There's these brands and the soulless. There's nobody behind them. The names will disappear in 3 years once the investors recoup their money. Who did this? Whose hand shaked whose for that to happen in a major department store? These brands are barely getting by in terms of the public opinion in perfume community. There is no big master perfumer, there is no legacy hard luxury brand behind them. There is no major celebrity behind them. Each way I look at it, I can't find a win for department stores to do that. Department stores are supposed to find us these dear darlings, right? I understand that maybe very niche brands like Kist or Atelier Bloem, or there's a lot of modern wines. Okay, maybe that's too much. But you can at least bring Tom Ford. Honestly, Tom Ford is not there, but Thomas Kasmala is. And once I organized the herd, managed the expectation, we started talking more honestly about the price tags. And I tried to ask them, do people actually come and buy these perfumes? And they all conceded like it's a very hard sell. Because the brand value is not there. Price tag is, think again, Kohl's. A perfume bottle standing there with nearly $400 price tag. It's a hard sell. But then something magical happened. One of the sales associates who I talked to the most, darling, charming lady, unfortunately knows very little about perfumes, handling the perfume counter nevertheless, and she's in the beauty department, struggling to communicate, struggling to describe what's good or bad and why. And then she says, like, well, it's a pity you don't like them. And I was trying to preface it with a disclaimer, like, if you like the scent, nothing else, if you can afford it and you like the scent, nothing else matters. Don't listen to me, don't listen to anybody else. It's a sensory experience. If you like it, it's worth it, whatever your budget is. And she said that she never smelled anything quite like Mind Games or Thomas Kasmala. Considering that they had gas station top 50, not surprising to me. So these women probably have never even tried Le Labo, never been exposed to Tad Libre d'Orange or any of the or Parfums de Marly or Francis Kurkdjian. So in a way, this collection of Arabic clones that are wrapped up in luxury, kind of elusive, anonymous luxury narrative is an expose if you just have zero history with perfumery, with the industry and the market. So the something there smelled almost nearly exactly like Santal 33 by Le Labo. This pickled juice, dill smell, which is Santal can smell like pickles, but in a way thick, fresh, green, and almost milky. It's just like, that's so unusual. I love it. I am saving. She's been saving for 3 months to buy a $400 perfume that is a clone of I think Santal 33 is cheaper than that. I didn't check the Labo prices for a while, but I think it's either the same price or cheaper. And I was kind of shocked. You work in the beauty department. You sweetheart. You work so hard. Your salary is so low. And let's say through these twisted means of overpriced Arabic clones, you got an entrance to a modern olfactory designs. Great. Why don't you search online? Why don't you watch a few reviews of mind games by perfume reviewers? Because perfume reviewers these days do the legwork. They try to find you anything similar. That smells similar to me to that, but with these facets, this is lasts longer. This has this annoying facet. This is more well. The people in the online digital perfume reviewing world are trying to bridge across all of these heterogeneous brand values and obscure distribution models where you can't try anything anywhere. And yet, so it's almost the industry is making it harder and harder for us to engage with it while complaining that they have dwindling sales. If I can't try a perfume, maybe this product is not well budgeted. It doesn't deserve to exist. Sorry, not sorry. If you can't afford at least one physical location or a distributor that has physical locations, if you don't care to sell prorated, subsidized perfume samples, but still better, even if you have those, everybody knows, like $30, $50, 1 mil, 2 mil perfume samplers, people still need to somehow stumble upon your website, find them, and it's still $50 to commit to something you have like absolutely no, especially if you're a new niche brand, you have like no reference point for this. It's better than nothing, but it's very suboptimal. It's a bit like people landing on your website is a very, very low in the purchasing funnel. So in my view, this whole obsession with Instagram sales, so to speak, doesn't have to be Instagram, without any real presence on the shelves anywhere, is a dead end. Once I saw Thomas Kosmala and Mind Games there and nothing else is there that deserves to be in a department store, I was like, all right, it's an insider trading. That's the only explanation I can find for why these two are there and nothing else is. It boggles my mind. And I don't blame niche brands who don't want to work with department stores, because I think I heard Gazashon, the guy who invented the whole trend again, OG, dad of molecular perfumery. He, in one interview, was explicitly saying that if you try to work with big distributors, they force you to up your prices just because they are greedy. They want higher margins. A lot of niche brands is like, okay, do we raise our prices 2x just to be put on the shelf? But as far as I understand, the payday might never be coming. But then they also force you to raise those prices everywhere. So you can't even sell your perfumes for the price that you think is fitting for the form factor and the product value. So you lose a lot of control over your product value and framing. You get distribution into essentially landfills of bad products. And then what? It's a chicken and egg problem. So I think niche brands they need to find a way to be physical. It's my firm opinion, especially in 2026. This whole obsession with zero, own nothing, rent everything, right? Is there in Davos right now in the World Economic Forum? The powerful of this world are trying to convince normal people that it's fine if you can't afford a house. It's fine if you don't even own a car, even. And now the powerful of this world are trying to convince businesses that medium or smaller, it's fine for you to own no assets. It's fine for you not to own your distribution, not to own your IP, not to own your brand value, not to own your relationship with the consumer. It's fine. Just give us all the control. And if somehow through your legwork of popularizing your brand, it becomes sellable, we're happy to accept 50% of your revenue or 70. We're happy to do this for you. How generous, how lovely, how charmingly selfless it is. Thank you so much, corporations and department stores. So you're gonna do the worst job ever. Like it's insulting. At this point, for a good brand, it would be insulting to be placed in that environment. So maybe department stores are the money laundering, the nepotism kind of places now. And maybe it's true, there is no point of even trying to get there. Leave it to the nephew, the brother, the sister of so-and-so and so-and-so who owns this department store, and your niece decides to create a niche brand, and these things just get organized that way. Maybe we'll leave it for Nepo babies, the trust fund babies. Fine. But then if it's that important, where do you go? Where do you go? And I say, look at Accents. Obviously, Accents can't save us all, and it's becoming too big for its own good already. But look at it. It's giving you a blueprint of what needs to happen more and more often. We need cons. That's the answer, in my view. Yes, working with small boutiques is forever. The grassroots seeding of niche, interest-based craft goods is always a good idea. But some niche brands are too small to even have capacity to collaborate on that level. But you can always have your pop-up store, your pop-up desk at a perfume con. It's not a real business, perfume con. It's just my way of naming the phenomena. Event spaces. We need more event spaces like Accents. I wish them well, and I think they should think about, instead of making it bigger and bigger every year, to split it into theme-focused and regional-focused cons, like event conferences, festivals, symposiums. We invite a few influencers, invite a few perfumers or people who are well-spoken and reasonably clean and pleasant to look at, and well-spoken. Have a few workshops or discussions to make it at least infomercial. Gather your local or theme-based pop-up stores of niche perfume brands. Let people come and be merry. Yes, there's a lot of marketing involved. Yes, you have to gather the troops. But the perfume network is large. You throw in, $100 even to 1,000 perfume reviewers just so they can speak about the conference and say, we'll give you 50% or 70% ticket discount if you decide to come. Obviously, not every perfume reviewer can be a featured headliner speaker. Fine. A lot of perfume reviewers are really small, but they have very loyal audiences. You can still work with that. Essentially, you have a graph with a lot of nodes that each of them is fairly small, but you have a lot of them. It's trying to constantly aim at the top of the exponential of the mega superstars is a losing game for small brands, unless you're Nepo baby, unless you're Mind Games or Thomas Kasmala somehow they made it. Done. I actually wish them well. I have nothing against those brands. It's just the ridiculousness of it. When you consider all the alternatives, it's bewildering. It's beguiling at this point. We need more event spaces. We need more perfume cons. Because people are also feeling lonely. Even if you can find cheap decants, even if you can swap them by mail with other enthusiasts, if you arrange it in Facebook groups or perfume forums, it becomes a lonely experience. And yes, it's inherently introverted. You have to smell it, you have to feel it. But At first, everybody tried to become a perfume blogger, a perfume reviewer, right? Like, how else can I express myself? Well, I guess I'll create an Instagram, and I'll, if not for others, at least for myself, posting about my impressions is going to be my living library of thoughts on perfumes that I've tried, so I remember, so I celebrate those moments. And it's fine, and I think it deserves to exist, but not everybody wants to make it into a content machine. And anybody who tried, well, please confirm or deny, share your experiences in the comments. It's exhausting. If you want to become a professional content creator, meaning solvent financially from that activity, it's exhausting. It will almost is there like famous phrase, never make your hobby your job? You will lose love for the original goal. You will lose the love for perfumery if you start playing the game of content. It has to be short form every day, several times a day preferably. It has to be this, and that's just the front of it. That's what people get to consume or not. But the background, how much admin goes behind popular or growing podcasts, channels, broadcast channels, written video, audio, doesn't matter. It is astonishing. It's a full-time job. And whether you will ever get to the top 1% and finally start getting those brand deals, unless you're already connected to the industry behind the scenes, let's say you work in the marketing department or PR department of Estee Lauder and you decided to create your own blog, potential conflict of interest, but I can see how you can use your professional connections to kind of give yourself a faster ramp. Fine, no problem with that. But for most people, they very quickly realize, and that through that initial stage, it's like, right, how else can I be social with something that I love and something I feel like I want to talk about? The forums, the Facebook groups can be an outlet for people who like that common threads style of communication. I'm more of a listening person and speaking person than I am a writing person. I can write a decent text if I put a lot of work into it, but once I've written the text, maybe it's just me, I'm curious if you have the same way or different way. Once I've written the text, I almost don't care anymore. It's almost a finished piece of work, as if I made a vase. Once I'm done with it, I'm done with it. I'm not as into textual discussions personally. So what else can you do? Let's say you just don't have the capacity. Maybe you have a life to live. A lot of people do. Despite what the media is trying to convince us, I walk around, I see a lot of people with kids, a lot of people in the restaurants, a lot of people walking their dogs, a lot of people trying to get healthier, trying to go to, health clubs, sauna places, or this or that. A lot of people are trying, but they have 2 free hours on a weekday. 2 free hours. If department stores can deliver this little social, intriguing, gamified pop that you can just, after work, pop into a mall, get a snack, get a light salad for dinner, just walk around, meet up some friends after work, walk around, try something fun. I don't know. As I said, you need to gamify that experience. All right, I'm like 5 Macy's Pokemon cards in. 6th one will get me a free sample of my favorite, I don't know, deep teak something, 2 mil. They promised me. If that is not there, at least a quarterly, every season's like, all right, Perfume.com is coming. This one is in, I don't know, there's one in Madrid, there's one in London, there's going to be one in Texas, there's going to be one in Miami, and you can plan for it. Okay, I cannot do it randomly on a weekday with girls or on a Saturday or with friends. Then maybe I can be with my people and go and experience a lot of things at once over a weekend. I do hear that event planning, big event, is very expensive, and it's partially what's driving the collapse in the music industry, that vendors of large spaces that are appropriate for large events that they are kind of going crazy with their pricing. So that renders a lot of big music events and just big events so unprofitable that you just wouldn't do it. And as I said, instead of making one big Exxon's like Perfume conference bigger and bigger and bigger, that it even professionals who go there like it's a Paris fashion week, I can't smell anymore, I can't talk to anyone, I can't even look at any more bottles. There is a certain optimal size of a conference after which you should split it, and there is no harm. It actually deflates a lot of pressure for brands, for vendors, for people, for booking hotels, to create a more distributed. And you can make it less redundant. Like, which one do I go to? You can make this about spring florals. You can make it, this is going to be a gourmand expose. Imagine if you can find within, let's say, 2-hour flight or overnight train ride, 2-day or 1-day full day conference, better like weekend conference on gourmands. It will have one master perfumer, 2 perfumers, and 2 junior perfumers, because these people will share very different flavors, what it feels like to make your way in the industry, what's selling right now, what it means to create candles, what it means to create fine perfume. You can attend those lectures. There will be pop-up shops of many niche brands, and it's all gonna be focused on gourmands. I would freaking plan my spring or my summer or my winter around it. So, if anything, this is my plea. Maybe some of you are people who are in the decision-making chain, or maybe someone, or at least you can leave your honest opinion, whether you think it's a good or bad idea, and in that comment chain we can discuss what is the future of sensory experiences. I love Osmo guys to death. We had an interview. I really, being in the algorithmic development myself for quite a number of years, I understand digitization of scent. All of that is great. But trying to unmoor us from reality any more than we already are, I don't think is a rewarding experience, and I think it's a very short-sighted revenue model. Ultimately, haptic response and olfactory sensory experiences are what makes things real to our brain. You can cheat us with visuals, hence all of the AR, VR reality stuff that exists, and our obsession with pixels. You can cheat with audio, voice cloning and all kinds of audio design. Algorithmic audio design is very hard right now. It's going to get better. There are a lot of sensory experience that we already lost, that are unmoored from reality, that are unmoored of our experience of being alive. I would say everybody involved, perfumers, brand owners, investors, distributors, everybody involved, we should be collectively fighting not to lose. Because to me, this is, if you want to be super duper heartless and pragmatic, this is the terminal value of the brand. This is the terminal revenue model. If your product gets completely unmoored from reality, and we see that happening with software stocks, with AI stocks, your inability to be connected to anything real is your death sentence as a businessman, as a brand, and also a death sentence to meaning of a given hobby. Even people who play video games do go to cons. Even people who are into all these imaginary worlds do go and do the LARPing, or whatever the modern names for various digital first lore created communities. People still want to meet in person. People, for God's sake, people play Quidditch. They try. in real life. So I think it's my manifesto, and I encourage you to leave a comment to share your thoughts in the matter. I think olfaction is one of the last frontiers of humanity preserving its righteous place to be real, to exist in reality, and to be human. And that's it for today. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. That's very important, especially for the growing channel of my size. And if you do so, I'll see you in the next video.